Hey guys, today I'm going to do a little video showing the basic tools that I use for pen repair. Thought this might be interesting for those who are interested. So I'll jump right in and start off with my mini screwdrivers. I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly because this could get long with all the tools I've got. Mini screwdrivers, picking, prying, using a screwdriver. This one's missing the head. I don't, buy all the, don't have to buy a $50 screwdriver. These are just glasses screwdrivers. Some stuff is best left to be cheap because when you're going to pick and pry on it, it's going to break. Tweezers, pulling out bits of sack from a pen. Recently had a sticky 51 diaphragm that didn't want to come out. Had to use these to pull the little bugger out. These have the tips rounded off by sanding. They work very nicely. Okay, X-Acto knife. I keep a fresh blade in that, and I keep a spare chipped blade that's still sharp chipped for more picking and prying purposes. This is super sharp for getting those precision cuts on sacks and things like that where I need a perfectly straight cut. Screwdriver, another basic purpose one. Some may not know what I'm talking about, but on your snorkels and stuff, you gotta reach up inside and get to the blind cap and turn that little screw up in there. That's what I use this for mainly. Also works good for prying. Some things used to fix a clip last week. My most used pick has a curved hook at one end and a little picker on the other end. This one has just been bent and used and abused. It needs to be resharpened, the tips on these. Love this one though, couldn't do without that one. Well, probably could, but I wouldn't want to. Don't use these much, so I won't spend much time on these. I find this too thick for a pen barrel, the reason being because a pen barrel is circular. When this is in the pen barrel, the two edges of it contact and the middle doesn't because it's so wide. It's made for dentistry. It does work for some tasks very well, but not very many tasks. Spoon-shaped one, I do find this one useful for when I need to scrape sideways, like, in that motion, scooping in, like that works very good for. But once again, don't use those two very often. Locking pliers, very useful for doing J-bars, things like that. Got these ones for dirt cheap at a local hardware store. Like $5 or something. Had to bend them back because they were poor, quality control, but they work great. Need those ones. Knockout block. I will attempt to describe this quickly here for those who don't know what a knockout block is. I'm going to do this without using up too much time because my camera only records so long of videos. So let's just pop out a section here. When you want to get the feed, make sure the camera's capturing that. When you want to get the feed nib out of a section, drop it in here. Find the right peg, put it in the back, you knock out the nib and feed. And this little thing here sits up against the shoulder on that nib. Works very well. This one's machined aluminum, as are the pegs. Had one that was wood. The wood one kind of wore down, so it did not fit very well. And it didn't have enough holes for me. Only had like 4 holes. I need like this many for all the different size nibs and sections and stuff. Next up, Parker Vacuumatic tools. Alright, this is for the standard 51s. This is for the oversized or Maxima. It screws onto the filler unit threads. As you see here, clamps down and you unscrew. You can heat these tools up if the filler unit's being stubborn. Don't usually have to do that, but I do sometimes. Pellet pusher. I won't describe how pellet pusher works or how a vacuumatic diaphragm works right now. You can look it up, but that's what this is for. It's popping that pellet back into the pellet pocket without breaking the pellet pocket because they're very brittle. Nib burnishing tools and a burnishing pad. This one's soft leather. Cut it myself from a scrap. You basically use these to fix bent nibs. It takes a lot of skill and time when you do not have a nib block, but it can be done with great success. Used it quite a few times. These are mirror polished steel because when you're dealing with gold nibs and you burnish them, the scratches of this will transfer to the gold nib because it's so soft. Got a small one and a big one. Tapered ends for getting in little small places. Really need those for some nib work. Shellac. Gotta, get those sections and those sacks to stay onto the section. This is what's preferred. I wouldn't recommend using nail polish. I kind of used to think it was okay, although I always use this, but I've been convinced that you should not use nail polish. Should always use this. I've always used it, but, now I'm saying that everybody else should use it too because it's good stuff. And it's not expensive. You can get like a bottle of it for like $2.50, so don't hurt your pens. Buy real shellac. Brushes, toothbrush, used well, polishing. Mainly getting gunk out of stuff. This is supposed to be a barrel brush. As you can see, no-go, way too big for a barrel, very stiff bristles. I use it for scrubbing really hard stuff like those Schaefer caps with the lines that get stuff stuck in them. Whew, those are hard to clean without that. Odds and ends that I've got. Got a polishing rag here. Need this one for polishing. Semi-chrome, my favorite polish. Some people will argue that it will degrade your pen and ruin it. Hasn't hurt any of the hundreds of pens I've used it on. Love it. Q-tips. Q-tips are great, for cleaning up inside caps and stuff. Broom straw, to keep your clips from scratching the cap when you're working on them, spinning them, anything like that. Masking tape, keep your imprints from getting worn down during polishing. Gotta have that. Toothpicks for mixing glue. Not much else. Piano wire. Useful little guy. Oh yeah, forgot my whole drawer of tools here. Section pliers. Normal pliers to be used with plastic only. Don't want these cutting into your section. Hardly ever use 2 pliers. These will suffice for almost all pens. Needle nose, hardly ever use those. They can be used for J-bars. Too big. This pair of them. Gotta have a loop for doing nibs. Really can't do without that. And nib smoothing stuff. Here we've got a nib smoothing stick. Very fine grit. Brass shim for smoothing the inside of the nib. You do not want to use sandpaper or anything like that for smoothing the inside of the nib, or else you will round the inner margin of the nib and you will pretty much ruin it. Okay, clear sheet plastic for increasing the space between the tines for more flow. I like to do it by hand. Some people will do it with those. Hand always works better for me because my hand has more feel than plastic does. These are sack spreaders. I always use my hand, but I have them just in case. I made these myself out of a coat hanger. They work very nicely. But once again, my hand is just more precisionist than any tool. So that's pretty much it. I have some polishing stuff here. Some, ink nicks for removing ink off my hands. As you can see, this is pretty worn, but I got ink. Wax. Enamel for, Park 51 jewels and stuff. Parker Vacuumatic jewels. See if I can pull this out. Sandpaper and steel wool for finishing, surface restoration, scratch removal, good stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you've enjoyed kind of looking through my tools. I hope some of this was educational. I got the hammer here. We got some drills over here for the occasional drilling out of pieces like packing units. But that's just the basics that you saw here. Flashlight. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was educational. And expect more videos soon.